Welcome back to my channel. Today, I am going to explore another set of Distress watercolor pencils. If you watched my first video, I was curious to see how I would like another set of these pencils. I wanted to try some different colors. So as you can see, this is set number 2, and there's different colors in this range. I really like all of the colors. I was drawn to them, but I was especially drawn to all the colors here on the left. So I'm really excited to get into this. I really like the pink, and I'm already starting to see, I know what my lights are gonna be, what my darks are gonna be, and I already had an idea in my mind about what I was going to illustrate. But first, we need to swatch these beautiful colors out. So I'm just admiring the colors and of course, the creative names. I think it's a beautiful curated set, and I just like how all these colors have been put together. I was very impressed, and now I'm taking out my handy dandy sketchbook. This is from video number 1. I will link it. And here we are. I'm doing the same kind of format that I did in the first video. I'm just doing little swatches, putting the names, and then I'm going to do swatches where I make them wet. Now, since I've already used these crayons or these pencils, I'm going to use crayons and pencils interchangeably. As you guys can see, I was a lot more aggressive and I colored a lot more hard than I did in the first set, but I just felt more confident, and I wanted my color swatches to be larger than they were when I did set number 1. So as I mentioned, I was able to see that yes, I'm going to have a lot of pale colors that I want to work with first because I don't want to muddy up my swatches with the dark colors. So I was like, okay, I'm going to have at least 2 or 3 really pale colors, and I need to do those first. And that's exactly what I did here, and they watered down as much as I figured they would, just like in the first set. So I went to do my dark colors afterwards. And as I told you guys, I colored a lot more aggressively and I put a lot more pressure this time. So if you look at the bottom 6, you can still see the scratchiness in the papers. So everything dissolved really well in the top 6 colors, but I specifically got excited and I colored them a lot harder. And by doing that, it left some scratchiness behind because obviously a lot more pigment got into the tooth of the paper. When I say the tooth of the paper, I mean the textured part. It doesn't really matter, it's just swatches, and that's really me, not the pencils. So, as I mentioned, swatching is so important. Look at this color. It says iced spruce, and it's gray, but it looks very blue. So this is just a perfect example of why it's important to swatch out your colors, especially before illustrating, because you can easily make a mistake. And I believe in swatching with paints, markers, pencils, whichever. So I'm going to do what I did last time. I'm taking my paler colors and I'm sketching out my design. Now I already knew the general idea of what I wanted to do, but as I use all of the colors, I'm going to see what's going to work and where I'm going to have to layer. So again, I'm doing what I did last time. I'm using my palest color in the background for my background, and I already know I'm most likely going to have to layer up, but at this point I am just blocking in the colors and I'm honestly enjoying it. I really like the textured scratchy effect that you get from these pencils, but the reason I interchangeably say pencils and crayons is they are pencils, but they really give crayon-like vibes. So if I use it interchangeably, don't get confused. To me, they're pencils, they're crayons, they're all of it. So I really like this scratchy look and I want to bring it back at the end. It's something my husband liked in the first one. So I'm just blocking everything in, laying it out, and then I'm going to wet my layers. And that way I have a nice even coat in the background, and I will purposely go back later and try to bring some of that scratchiness back. So once I got to this point, I realized I definitely wanted a shadow underneath my little mouse, but I found that the gray wasn't quite strong enough, but I left the gray there because I knew there was other dark colors in the palette that I could work with. worked on this flower, the more I absolutely knew I wanted to bring that scratchy, textured look back in after I wet down this layer. And this flower ended up probably being my most favorite part of the entire illustration. Even though I end up liking my little mouse and how it looks together, I just really love this flower. So I knew from the very beginning I was going to have to go in with 2 to 3 layers with my background, because that's what happened with set number 3, which was the first video that I did. There seems to be a decent amount of darks and pales in each set, which is fine. It makes it really fun and interesting, but I knew I was going to have to layer up. Over here I added a darker shadow. At this point in the illustration, I didn't know how dark I was going to go with it, but I really wanted to block things in, and you have to let the paper dry before you go in and work things anyways, so you just have to work, let it dry, and come back and add if you need to. So here you're just seeing me color in my mouse. Fun fact, I am terrified of all things vermin. I really am. I just find it really cute to draw them. But other than that, I do not like them around me, and they scare me so much. But what doesn't scare me is beautiful flowers. I enjoyed doing flowers with these colors, and I'm actually thinking I might want to do some more flowers with these pencils in the future because I just really enjoyed it. What you're seeing me do here is I'm using the orange to add some definition, and I'm outlining the petals. It really makes a difference. The piece is less flat, it adds a nice pop of color, and it adds life and contrast. So you don't need to have a ton of colors to achieve something like that. But see, it makes all the difference. It adds just enough dimension. And again, you don't need a ton of colors. So when I went in for my second layer of brown with the mouse, I ended up pressing way too hard. Again, I was way more confident this time than I was the first time. The first time I used these, I was honestly scared that I was going to possibly break them or snap them if I pressed too hard, because I tend to be heavy-handed and more hyperactive naturally. So I didn't like that it affected the tooth of my paper, but I know that if I draw in a slightly different direction in these circular motions, that not only would it give a fur texture, but it would hide this scratchiness that I caused by going heavy-handedly. And like I said, I wanted to bring texture into the piece anyways, so it's not like this was bothering me at all. It's just adding more color, more pigment, and I have to learn to just check my pressure control. I mean, it's good that I'm more confident, so I was happy, but it gave me a little bit more work. So if the light and the shadow is bothering here, I apologize. I have to work when I can work, and I work in little bursts here and there, and the sun was just out. So this is what I meant. I wanted to flatten out the layers so I could spread the pigment, but add just a little bit of scratchiness and texture. My husband encouraged me to do it, and I actually really like it. It adds more character to what you're doing. So as you see here, mouse finally has a face, we have an outline, there's more and more details, it's coming together. But I have been hesitating to do the umbrella handle. I wanted to go with red. I had just a little bit of red, and I wanted to go for red, but I knew doing a big red one was bold, and I didn't want to ruin it, but I had to do it. So here I thought I might have ruined things, because I'm like, I'm going to add a cute little cheek, but to me that was too red. So what I'm doing here is I am trying to lift some of the pigment. So all you have to do with anything watercolor and water-based is you wet it, and then you dab and it'll take it off. Now, I don't care if some of the red stays. I kind of wanted a little bit of it to stay, but I wanted to lift the majority of the pigment, and I was able to do that, and then I will go in with the pink later. So I did it. I did the big red stem. It's bold, it's cute, it made me nervous, but it had to be done. I'm really pleased that I got a different set with different colors. It gave me an even further feel for these pencils. They're not as easy to use as I thought. I ended up using a lot for this background color, obviously. And here we are. I have another cute little rodent in the rain with a beautiful flower umbrella. Ah, I'm really, really happy with how this turned out. I had an idea in my head, and I couldn't get it out of my head. I had to get it out on paper. Obviously, it never turns out exactly how I see it in my head, but sometimes it turns out better or just as good. I like the colors in this set. It was a really nice mix. I got to learn a lot more about these pencils, and I'm really happy that I went for a second set. So, if you didn't see my first video exploring these, I recommend that you go see it because my mouse and my hamster are now friends. They're little page friends. They're neighbors, actually. So these are the colors in set number 3. This is the hamster I keep referring to. I actually think I slightly prefer my hamster, but it doesn't mean I don't like my mouse. I just really, really love my fat, chubby little hamster. So let me know if you guys enjoyed this video, if you liked it, if you guys would perhaps like to see me do another one. Are you planning to buy these pencils? Just let me know in the comments below. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next video. Bye everyone.